Hi everyone, my name is Sarah Hamilton and I'm the Accessibility Coordinator at the Ehlers-Danlos Society. Today I want to talk about something that touches every one of us, mental health, and why it needs to be at the heart of conversations about Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and hypermobility spectrum disorders. So a little bit of what we'll be covering today, going to be covering the fact that we all have mental health, the journey that EDS and HSD patients might go on, grief and adjustment for those individuals, mind and body connection, working together, having support, and most importantly, listening. We all have mental health. Sometimes it's strong and sometimes it struggles. Just like physical health, it fluctuates throughout our lives. Mental health affects every single one of us, and it's just as vital as physical health. Research consistently shows that two are deeply linked. For example, in people with chronic pain, higher rates of mental health conditions, say anxiety, depression, and risk behaviours were observed by Lamley et al., and suggesting a significant overlap. These are important links between physical and mental health. So when we talk about EDS and HSD, we can't separate the physical from the mental. They're part of the same story. The journey for people with EDS or HSD can be incredibly difficult, often mentally exhausting. Many people face gaslighting, closed doors, lack of appropriate care, and this is why they're living with pain, fatigue, and constant worry. And yet, when care does work well, it's because of professionals like you. Those who take the time, energy, and commitment to truly listen can make a difference. The care and compassion shown can be truly life changing. Let's have a little look at grief and adjustment. So, receiving an EDS or HSD diagnosis can be both a relief and a loss. Many people describe going through a grief process, mourning the old life they once had, thinking about things, how things will look going forward, about a different future, and also redefining their identity and capability. Healing can take time and it needs patience support. And it's not just physical, healing is emotional too. We all know that physical and mental health are intertwined, but it's easy to forget that in practice. If a professional athlete broke their leg and couldn't train for 8 weeks, we'd expect their mental health to take a hit. They'd be frustrated, they'd be restless, they may even be sad. And that's normal. That's a human response to a temporary loss of ability. Now I go and imagine someone living with a chronic illness. They face daily pain, fatigue, and constant barriers of care. Of course, it's going to affect their mental health. We'd be naive to believe it wouldn't. And if someone managed to stay mentally well through that time, that's wonderful. But we cannot build care around exceptions. We have to be prepared for the reality that chronic physical strain often leads to emotional strain and make sure that right support is already in place when it happens. Because mental and physical health aren't separate battles, they're part of the same story. Treating one while neglecting the other means we'll miss half the person standing right there in front of us. So let's make a promise to acknowledge both. We won't label physical symptoms as mental symptoms. We won't ignore mental well-being while treating physical symptoms, and we'll approach healing with care, time, and validation, because both deserve equal attention. Support networks make recovery and resilience possible. When people feel heard and believe, it changes everything. Family, friends, peers, professionals, these all play a role in helping someone move forward. What that network looks like for different people is going to be different for everyone. For some, it's a close friend or partner who knows when to step in. For others, it's a therapist or a support group or an online community or a trusted clinician. What matters most is that people know that they don't have to face this alone, and that support can come in many forms. Through the Ehlers-Danlos Society, we can support people to find what works best for them, and you can send people through to us as well. We have Inspire boards, we have wellbeing pages that can help, we have webinars people can watch. There's lots of different opportunities and things that can help. As we often say, connection equals protection, and building those networks is one that is the most powerful tools we can offer. This brings me to the heart of the talk, the power of listening. Listening sounds simple, but it is one of the most profound things that we can do. When someone shares their story, they're trusting you as something deeply personal, their pain, their frustration, their fears. We can listen, and how we listen can either open the door or shut it quietly again. So let's listen, really listen. Let's look beyond symptoms and see the person, not just the diagnosis. Notice what's being said and what's not being said, the emotion, the exhaustion, but also the hope. Let's include mind and body together. Treat them together. They're inseparable. Recognize that emotional distress can come from physical pain, and physical symptoms can worsen under emotional strain. And let's support and not simplify. Avoid easy answers or assumptions. You just need to relax. You're probably anxious. These are invalidating someone's experience. Instead, validate what they feel and acknowledge their strength. I hear what you're saying. That must have been really difficult. Take time to understand. Take it slow. Allow for silence. Silence can be scary, but it's also one of our most powerful tools to give someone the space to talk, and it invites honesty and connection. And let's empathize and not exclude. Acknowledge the grief, acknowledge the frustration, and the emotional impact of living with a chronic illness. Empathy doesn't require fixing, it requires presence. Nurture connection. Healing happens in community. Encourage people to build their circle of support through friends, professionals, organizations such as ourselves, and help them find connection and understanding. Listening is not passive, it's an act of care, respect, and courage. And when we listen, we remind people that they matter, that their story has value, and that they are not alone. I'll leave you with a quote from Ralph Nichols, often referred to as the father of listening. The most basic of all human needs is the need to understand and be understood. The best way to understand people is to listen to them. Thank you for listening today, and thank you for all you do to help people living with EDS and HSD. Thank you.